Democrats are lying to America about the economy.
Who? Name one Democratic president in the past that you could brag on as much as Joe Biden at this point.
In this video, we're going to unpack what the Democrats are doing trying to get Joe Biden reelected and how this is going to blow back all in their faces. Joe Biden has been campaigning, telling the world how great the economy is.
As we head into Labor Day, we ought to take a step back and take note of the fact that America is now one of the strongest job-creating periods in our history, in the history of our country. And it wasn't that long ago that America was losing jobs.
And you know what? I wish he was telling the truth. I wish he wasn't spinning it. I wish this was the reality, but it's not the reality.
In fact, my predecessor was one of only two presidents in history who entered his presidency and left with fewer jobs than when he entered. Look at where we are now. Just this morning, we learned that the economy created 190,000 jobs last month. All told, we've added 13.5 million jobs since I took office. Around 800,000 of them manufacturing jobs. We created more jobs in 2 years than any president ever created in a single four-year term.
I don't know if you know it, but we had this thing called a lockdown. Yeah, it was during the pandemic that's still going on, and a lot of businesses had to close down. A funny thing happens when you close down businesses. People can't go to work, Joe. Businesses closed, so people couldn't go to work. And then when the businesses reopened, people went back to work. And Joe says he wants credit for businesses that reopened, that he had nothing to do with them reopening.
Well, folks, so let's look at the results. We're not finished yet by any stretch of the imagination, but unemployment rate is at 3.4%, a 50-year low.
Over 70% of the jobs that Joe Biden created, he didn't create them. They came back on their own. And this is the problem I have with all these commentators that just keep regurgitating the Joe Biden talking points, is that it's a slap in the face to all of us who look at the numbers like, what's this going on? What's this? What is this? You know how infuriating it was to read this? To not have a single person that says, ooh, you got to vote Joe because Joe's doing such a great job with the economy, and not have a single one of them point out the obvious. They think we're stupid.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Where am I going now?
There you go, right this way. Secretary, right this way.
More than 700,000 people joined the labor force last month, which means the highest share of working-age Americans are in the workforce now than at any time in the past 20 years.
But Friday's closely watched report from the Labor Department also showed that the unemployment rate jumped to 3.8% from 3.5%, and wage gains moderated, suggesting that labor market conditions were weakening.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Where am I going now?
There you go, right this way. Secretary, right this way.
You know what? And that would be fine. Like if Joe added all these jobs and the economy was booming, hey, I'd be supporting that. I'd be pushing that. But it's not true. Look, guys, if there's no food on your table, you got this guy up here saying how great it did for you, how pissed off would you be? If you have no way to make your mortgage, if you can't afford the gas in your car, if it costs too much to buy a steak, how much of an insult would it be to have to sit through listening to these people lie to you day in and day out about something that's obvious? Welcome to America.
Or whether a path even exists anymore for them to be counted in. These invisible folks that I grew up with. But I know we can forge that path. I'm confident we can. By building an economy where nobody's left behind. And I mean it, nobody's left behind.
63% of Americans can't afford an emergency. They live paycheck to paycheck. 40% of black children live beneath the poverty line. That hasn't changed. The unemployment rate for black Americans is still twice that of white Americans. Joe Biden let the very policies that he put forth that shut down and cut almost half of child poverty lapse and went on vacation. Meanwhile, AOC and the whole crew of liars propping up Joe, leave it out. I'm not going to leave it out. If you have a voice, a podcast, a show, a platform, and you're not calling out those that are in power and pushing them to work on our behalf, what are you really doing? Job security? Trying to make sure it's a lot of steaks on the grill? Trying to stock up your deep freezer in the garage? I mean, what are you really doing if you're not challenging the powers that be? I know what you're doing. You're trying to leapfrog in your career. You're trying to stabilize your living situation. And I get all of that. But don't confuse that. Don't confuse that with champion for the people.
Ooh, name one Democratic president in the past that you could brag on as much as Joe Biden at this point. It's not me shilling. I'm just saying, when you look at that interview with Hannity and the governor of California, and he is just absolutely out debating Hannity on Biden's accomplishments. He has an attitude about it. We are winning. This president has won for us. I want to hear more Democrats doing a better job instead of gnashing their teeth and squeezing their hands together about his age.
Okay, Mika, let's do it. Let's have that conversation. Let's talk about the reasons why some Democrats and independents and people who are disaffected, who are not Democrats or Republicans, is kind of like just Americans who don't believe in any party. Okay, some things that they may be thinking about. Inflation concerns. You know, where your dollar doesn't go as far as it used to go, it's going a lot less farther. That's under Joe Biden. Supply chain issues that have not been restored. Things are still higher than they used to be, Mika. I know it doesn't affect you, Miss Living in a Bubble with Joe, who doesn't have to buy their own groceries or fill up their own gas tanks. But to the rest of us, that's an issue. Real hourly wages have decreased due to the inflation. The average American hasn't had a raise in 3 years. I know that's not your life. That's a lot of other people's lives. And that gives a lot of people a reason to wring their hands because there's no money in their hands. Everyday goods, essential services have risen. You know, everyday goods, things you have to buy, like food, deodorant, cleaning supplies, everything is up. Mika, not just your Botox, including your time. Your time is up for the nonsense. Wall Street Journal says higher inflation probably costing the average American $276 a month. Mika, that's almost $300 a month. Every little bit counts if you're a person who has to, work paycheck to paycheck, or someone who's not rich, or didn't come from a rich family like the Brzezinskis. Thanks to your dad, they have to pay this thing called a budget. They have to live within a budget, and they have a certain amount of money that they can spend. And if that goes down while prices go up, they're hosed, Mika. They say more people are working, but what kind of jobs are they? A large proportion, the overwhelming proportion of jobs that were not restored, the ones that were created, were delivery jobs like Uber and Instacart. Transportation jobs like Uber as well. Uber, Instacart, these types of jobs. Warehouse jobs were another one that have come back a lot. Okay? But guess what? Those don't earn you a livable wage. Okay? So people are not doing well, Mika. You're doing well. Your friends are doing well. The Beltway is doing well. People in cable media are doing well. Independent news media people who have sold out are doing very well, demonizing Trump and collecting money on the back end. But as for us, working stiffs, it's the same as it always was. And I know you're not too concerned about the blacks. Every once in a while you'll have one on that's also living in a bubble, eating off the 1% table, to the extent that they probably only realize they look in the mirror and they go, oh, that's right, I'm black. I can't believe it. I go, wow, I forgot I was black there for a minute. Once again, not everyone's doing bad, Mika, just like at least half of America. This is the reason why I'm going to Dr. Cornel West. I suggest you go to cornelwest24.org and pitch into the campaign. We're just getting started. We're getting it kicked off. Let's make it happen. Remember, if you want to track the election 2024, without being kissing a bunch of Democrat butt, and if you want a black face that's not just sitting in a white space, but calling it out from a black perspective, you're in the right place. I'm Tim Black. Subscribe to this channel. And remember, like I always say, don't let nobody take your cornbread. And today is a new day. Right here on the Tim Black's Black Table.
Extra innings are bonus segments from Tim Black's Black Table Show with the Blacks. That's Tim Black and the amazing Mrs. Black. For early access to extra innings, become a paid member of the Tim Black Show at jointimblack.com. Ain't nothing like the real thing. Baby, join today. See you there, Wolfpack.